Hello, my name is Landon Bridges, and this weekend I was assigned to talk about my progress over the semester and my thoughts on conflict resolution. Um, some of the topics going over is just how coursework's going so far, what's going on in my latest clinical experience, any positives from said clinical experience, and just what stood out to me about conflict resolution, some of the readings we had, and how do I approach conflict resolution. First, I'm going to discuss the coursework this semester. This coursework this semester actually hasn't been too bad. I do have a weird schedule, and I did up my classes this semester, so I'm definitely a lot more. I'm much more busy. I'm busier. Um, Other than that, I feel like I'm managing it pretty well. I'm retaking anatomy because I felt like I didn't do too well in it the first time, and if I wanted to do anything like medical when it came to grad school, which I'm not sure if I am. I don't think I am. But just in case, I wanted to get a higher grade in anatomy. I only had a C the first time, so it just made sense for me to try to go ahead and go back and get an A or at least a B plus in it the second time. I'm doing really well. I have a 95 in anatomy. I have 91 in the lab. I do have to study for upcoming tests, however, because that's for lab, and yeah, hard to stay motivated for lab. Lecture is it's much more easier, but that's going fine. Um, I'm taking interesting core classes that I never thought I was actually gonna like. So like intro to peace studies. So just learning about peace and how complicated all that can be. It's kind of interesting, and you learn about interesting people who are trying to fight for peace. Um, it's another interesting course I'm taking this year. Oh, psychology. I just like the professor. Psychology can be boring for me. I really am not that interested in learning like basic psychology. If it was more specific, then it could become interesting. But it's like interest in psychology, so it's really like just like a broad spectrum, and you learn about everything, and it's just not that interesting. It's really generic and a lot of memorization, and I don't like it. So I do love the professor though. She does make it interesting, and I like to go to her class, so it's not horrible. Um, my latest clinical experience was actually at the dentist, but that's been a while because it's been about 3 weeks since I've had a clinical rotation, just due to spring break, and I had the chiropractor after the dentist. So, and we don't have the chiropractor anymore, so I just haven't had anything to do. Um, but I enjoyed the dentist. I learned. I was always asking him questions. Hopefully, I wasn't bugging him too much, but I was asking questions just about the materials he was using. He had a complicated patient with. She was having like an allergic reaction to something, but she didn't know to what, and he thinks it's one thing and she thinks it's another, and it was complicated. I tried to excuse me. I tried to brainstorm a couple of ideas for him, but he already had kind of an idea, so I just told him I wasn't trying to step on his toes or anything, but I was just like, oh, maybe it could be this or maybe it could be that. I got to see teeth pulled, so that was cool. Um, and just learn more about like patient-centered care. He's really good at that. Just learning about his patients and talking to them, and um, I just found that very interesting. I got to know what tori teeth were, which I didn't know. So if you go to like the roof of your mouth, so there would be like bony outgrowths like right here on the roof of your mouth, and this lady's were huge. They were probably about this big. So I was like, does that affect your swallowing or your chewing at all? And she was like, no. I'm like, that's just interesting. It was interesting to see. So I've been enjoying my clinical experience. I've been learning a lot. Trying to see if I can take back anything with me when in terms of athletic training and um, stuff like that, and see if I can incorporate it into my own practice and maybe one day use some of his techniques. Um, Also, just learn how to contact the right people just in case my athlete ever needs a dentist, especially if it's an emergency situation where they lost teeth. That's just something that's really important to take away from that. Um, what are some positives from clinical these days, and how can I build off these positives? Oh, just probably just like I said, just learning a lot and trying to take away from it. Building off of these positives is just like understanding what you're good at and understanding what they're good at, and see how can you incorporate it into your practice. So like I said Dr. Myers is very good at patient-centered care, so I'm thinking to myself, how can I incorporate more patient-centered care into my practice, and how can I get to know my patients much better and understand what they want, what their goals are. So we're having much more of a productive dialogue and much more productive rehab or stuff like that in term with my patient. And I feel like that would be very important, and they feel like I care about them, which I do, and we can just keep moving forward. And how do I usually approach conflict with a coworker? Well, if I have conflict, I usually like to talk to them directly and try to get it resolved right away, so it's not a lingering problem. Once it's gone on for too long, I just try to drop it because it's obviously not that important to me. But that's what I find important. You have to get nipped in the bud so it's not a problem that lingers on. Well, Zach, I'm about at my deadline. I hope you enjoyed the video, enjoyed my talk and dialogue. This is Land Bridges signing off for today.